The neon glow of Neo Gotham painted the grimy alleyways in hues of electric blue and toxic green. Rain slicked the cobblestones, reflecting the city's relentless energy. Tonight, however, the usual grim atmosphere was punctuated by an unlikely sight. Bruce Wayne, out of his back cowl, sharing a surprisingly civil conversation with Dr. Robert Bruce Banner. Their paths had crossed during a chaotic alien incursion a few months prior. The unlikely duo, the brooding vigilante and the gentle scientist with a monstrous alter ego, had found an unexpected camaraderie in the face of overwhelming odds. Bruce, ever the pragmatist, had been fascinated by the raw power of the Hulk and Banner's struggle for control. Banner, in turn, found a strange solace in Bruce's unwavering dedication to justice, a dedication that mirrored his own desperate attempts to contain the destructive force within him. They had started meeting occasionally, away from the capes. In chaos, Bruce, surprisingly adept at understanding trauma, offered a listening ear to Banner's tormented confessions. Banner, with his scientific mind, provided Bruce with insights into the physiological limits and potential enhancements of the human body, knowledge Bruce found invaluable in his crusade. They bonded over late-night talks in Wayne Manor, sharing stories of loss and the burdens they carried. An unusual, yet genuine, friendship had blossomed. One evening, while attending a scientific symposium in Metropolis, they both found themselves captivated by Dr. Evelyn Reed. Evelyn was a brilliant astrophysicist, her eyes sparkling with intelligence and a warm smile that could melt the iciest demeanor. She presented her groundbreaking research on interdimensional travel with a passion that was infectious. Bruce, usually reserved and guarded, found himself drawn to her sharp wit and genuine enthusiasm. He enjoyed their intellectual sparring, and the way her presence seemed to lighten the ever-present darkness within him. Banner, too, was smitten. He admired her brilliant mind and the kindness she extended to everyone she met, a kindness he rarely encountered. He felt a flicker of hope, a possibility of a life beyond the shadow of the Hulk. They both started vying for Evelyn's attention, unknowingly at first. Lunch invitations, shared conversations after lectures, and offers of assistance with her research became a subtle competition. Evelyn, oblivious to the growing tension between her two admirers, enjoyed their company, appreciating their different perspectives and the genuine interest they showed in her work. The unspoken rivalry began to surface during a charity gala. Bruce, suave in a tailored tuxedo, and Banner, looking endearingly awkward in a rented suit, both found themselves near Evelyn. A polite conversation about the complexities of quantum physics escalated into a thinly veiled debate about the best approach to problem solving. Bruce championing practical application, Banner advocating for theoretical understanding. Evelyn, though amused, sensed the underlying tension. "You both have such fascinating minds," she said, her smile diplomatic. "It's inspiring to see such passion." Later that evening, as Bruce and Evelyn shared a dance, Banner watched from the sidelines, a familiar pang of loneliness echoing in his chest. When the dance ended, Banner approached them, intending to offer Evelyn a ride home. However, Bruce had already extended the invitation. A tense silence hung in the air, broken only by the distant chatter of the crowd. The unspoken tension finally erupted a few weeks later. Evelyn had invited both Bruce and Banner to her lab to celebrate a breakthrough in her research. As they were toasting with champagne, a misunderstanding arose. Bruce, interpreting a shared glance between Evelyn and Banner as something more, made a curt remark. Banner, already on edge with the constant fear of losing control, took offense. Words were exchanged, sharp and laced with jealousy. The intellectual sparring turned personal, dredging up insecurities and long-held resentments. The air crackled with animosity. Then, the unthinkable happened. Banner, overwhelmed by a surge of anger and frustration, began to transform. His skin turned a sickly green, his muscles bulging, his clothes tearing. "Bruce, run!" Banner gasped, fighting the change. But Bruce stood his ground, his face a mask of grim determination. He couldn't abandon his friend, even in this monstrous form. The Hulk roared, a sound that shook the very foundations of the lab. Evelyn screamed, backing away in terror. Bruce, without hesitation, lunged forward, not to attack, but to try and reason with the raging behemoth. "Banner, it's me, Bruce. You have to fight it." His words, however, were lost in the Hulk's primal fury. The lab became a battleground, equipment smashed, walls cracked. Bruce, despite his agility and fighting prowess, was no match for the Hulk's raw power. He dodged massive fists, but one blow caught him off guard, sending him crashing through a reinforced window. Seeing Bruce injured seemed to momentarily stun the Hulk. A flicker of Banner's consciousness surfaced in his eyes, a look of confusion and pain. But it was fleeting. The rage quickly consumed him again. Evelyn, despite her fear, acted quickly, remembering Banner's earlier explanation of how certain frequencies could disrupt his transformations. She frantically searched through her equipment. Finding the device, she activated it, aiming the sonic emitter at the Hulk. A high-pitched whine filled the air. The Hulk roared in discomfort, clutching his head. The green hue of his skin began to recede, his massive form shrinking, until finally, Robert Bruce Banner stood panting amidst the wreckage, his eyes filled with shame and horror. Bruce, bruised and bleeding, slowly got to his feet. He looked at Banner, not with anger, but with a deep sadness. Evelyn rushed to Banner's side, her concern evident. "Bruce, are you all right?" she asked, her voice trembling. Banner could only nod, unable to meet Bruce's gaze. The weight of his actions, the destruction he had caused, pressed down on him. The following days were filled with a heavy silence between Bruce and Banner. They avoided each other, the bond of their friendship seemingly shattered beyond repair. Evelyn, caught in the middle, felt a profound sense of guilt one rainy evening. Bruce found Evelyn in her lab, working late. "Evelyn," he began, his voice quiet. I owe you an apology. My behavior was irrational, possessive. It wasn't fair to you or to Banner." Evelyn looked up, her expression thoughtful. "Bruce, I understand that emotions can run high. But what happened? It was frightening." "I know," Bruce said, his gaze distant. "But Banner, he's a good man." Evelyn, trapped in a nightmare. "My jealousy clouded my judgment." Meanwhile, Banner, tormented by guilt and the fear of his destructive potential, had decided to leave Metropolis. He couldn't risk hurting Evelyn or his friend again. He left a letter for Evelyn, explaining his decision and expressing his regret. Evelyn, after receiving Banner's letter, sought out Bruce. She showed him the heartfelt message, filled with Banner's pain and his selfless decision to remove himself from their lives. Reading Banner's words, Bruce felt a wave of remorse wash over him. He had allowed his own insecurities and emotions to destroy a valuable friendship and drive away a man who was suffering immensely. Together, Bruce and Evelyn decided to find Banner. Using Wayne Enterprises' resources and Evelyn's scientific connections, they tracked him down to a remote research outpost in the Swiss Alps. They found Banner withdrawn and isolated, the fear of another transformation constantly looming over him. Bruce approached him cautiously. "Banner," he said softly. Banner looked up, his eyes filled with surprise and apprehension. "Bruce." "Evelyn, what are you doing here?" "We came to talk," Bruce replied, "and to apologize." He admitted his jealousy and how he had let his emotions get the better of him. He told Banner that their friendship meant more to him than any romantic pursuit. Evelyn echoed Bruce's sentiments, assuring Banner that she valued his friendship and understood the immense burden he carried. She even shared some of her own struggles and insecurities, creating a space of mutual vulnerability. Over several days, they truly talked about their feelings, their fears, and their regrets. Bruce and Banner acknowledged the strength of their bond and the foolishness of letting a romantic interest come between them. Evelyn, with her empathy and understanding, helped them navigate the complex emotions that had led to their conflict. They realized that their connection as friends was far more valuable and enduring than any fleeting romantic entanglement. The shared experiences, the mutual respect, and the understanding of each other's burdens formed a foundation that jealousy had temporarily shaken but could not destroy. As for Evelyn, she clarified her feelings, expressing her admiration for both Bruce and Banner as individuals, but emphasizing that her focus remained on her scientific pursuits and the unique bond she shared with each of them as friends. In the end, they returned to Metropolis, their friendship rekindled, albeit with a newfound understanding and a commitment to open communication. Bruce and Banner learned a valuable lesson about the fragility of relationships and the importance of valuing genuine connections over fleeting desires. And though the initial spark of romantic interest had faded, it had been replaced by something far more enduring, a strong, resilient friendship forged in shared experiences and a mutual respect that could withstand even the Hulk's rage and the Dark Knight's brooding intensity. They continued their unlikely alliance, facing the challenges of their extraordinary lives, not as rivals, but as friends. With Evelyn a valued member of their unique circle, the neon glow of Neo Gotham seemed a little brighter now, reflecting not just the city's energy, but also the warmth of a rediscovered friendship.